Hello and welcome to the Purpose Rwanda show with me, Irma Ihumure, your host. Today, I am beyond excited. Why am I excited? Because we will discuss about a topic dear to my heart. We are about to talk about mental health, understanding mental health. We all have mental health, and it is just as important as our physical health. But whenever we talk about mental health, people have this tendency to think about mental illness, mental disorders, but is it the case? Don't worry, because I have a guest and she is amazing. I'm telling you the truth because she is a family and mental health psychotherapist. She has a deep-seated passion to help people, to help families, to help couples, to become the best version of themselves. And she is the founder of Life and Family Life. That's her organization, and beyond, to help others, become the best. So, without further ado, allow me to welcome Joy. Welcome, Joy.
Thank you so much, Irma, for that amazing introduction.
I mean, it's who you are.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
I should say I was so happy to discover you. I was like, finally, I'm discovering somebody who talks about mental health, an issue that we have nowadays.
Yes.
So tell me, let's go back, take me back a little bit. How did you start? What motivated you to become a psychotherapist?
Yes. So thank you so much for that lovely introduction. So before I maybe share with the audience how I ended up here, I just want to introduce myself. My names are Joy Gihana, and I am a mother of 3 lovely babies, kids, children. They will always be my babies.
Wow.
And I'm married to my best friend, Lucky Gihana. And how did I end up here? Initially I was a lawyer. I have a legal background. That's what I went to school for in the first place. I did practice a little bit of law, but I soon realized that, like you said, I have a deep-seated passion to really help people and impact their lives in a very practical sense.
Yeah.
And while, being a lawyer would have helped me to do that, but I did not feel like I was impacting the people the way I really wanted to. Yeah. So without taking so long, after like 3 or 4 years, I decided to make a professional turn. I changed my career and I did a master's in counseling psychology. So currently I'm practicing psychology. I'm a mental health and family psychotherapist, as you mentioned. And what I do on a daily is to really help people, to support people, tap into their strength, because I do believe that we are all created with different strengths, with a lot of potential, but along the way as we are growing up, those abilities are compromised because of our life experiences, because of different traumatic experiences that we may go through, and so we end up not either realizing that we have that potential or we're not aware. Yeah. So what I do is when somebody, an individual, crosses my path, I gently remind them and I help them to tap into that potential that is God-given.
Wow.
Yes.
That's just amazing. So, Joy, please help us understand what is mental health? Because this is really an issue. When you talk about mental health, people have this tendency to think, oh, you are talking about mental illness or a mental disorder.
Yes.
But I would like to know what's the real definition of mental health.
Yes. There is a lack of awareness. Mental health is almost like a no-go for most of us. I don't think I knew what mental health was until I got the skills, until I trained as a mental health professional. So, and which is why I really applaud Purpose Rwanda for doing this, for creating platforms such as this, so that we can create awareness. So there is a lot of ignorance around mental health issues. But to answer your question, basically when I think of mental health, I think of a pyramid, right? So at the bottom of the pyramid is everybody's fine, no distressors, no mental health issues.
Yeah.
That is at the bottom, and that's where most of us are, most of the population in the world. That's where we are, where people are, going about life as normal. If it's a student, they're attending school normally. If it's a mom or a dad, they're going to work. If they have a job and they're coming back home and taking care of their loved ones and all that. So that's the first, the first piece of the pyramid. A step higher is mental distress. So mental distress is daily, day-to-day situations that happen to us, challenges, I would say. For example, if you have a car, you're driving to work and you get a flat tire, or you're having a presentation like you, TV presenter, and you're experiencing a little bit of anxiety because you're scared, you don't know what to expect, or you don't have cash power at home. And you're facing a little bit of a challenge. So that's I would call that a mental distress. Right. Now, most of us, I don't know anybody who does not go through that.
Exactly, because we are those are part of our daily activities. It's
Absolutely.
It's a decision you have to make. It's something you have to do.
Yes.
So we all go through those sorts of emotions.
Absolutely, it's part of our lives. Now, when something like that happens, the brain is triggered. There's a stress response. So when something like that, when something that is not normal happens, for example, you're driving to work, you get a flat tire, there is a stress response that is that the brain responds. Now, everybody of us will respond differently. For some people, they will stay and fight. Some other people will either run away. Some people will freeze. They just don't know what to do. However you respond, there is no better way of responding. It's the way, it's our different personalities, our different experiences that have shaped the way we respond. Now, as we continue to respond, we actually build our resiliency and our ability to adapt. So, for example, if you have kids at home, it's not okay to overly protect them. From these challenges, because the more we experience these mental distressors, the more resiliency we build, depending on how we respond. Okay. Now, a step higher on the pyramid is a mental health problem. Now, a mental health problem is a little bit bigger than a mental distress. A mental health problem, for example, would be like somebody's going through a divorce, or somebody loses a loved one, a dear one dies. Or COVID-19, that's a very practical example of a mental health problem. Again, depending on how you respond. Sometimes when this mental health problem, when we experience this mental health problem, it's almost like bigger than us, and we do not have the ability to overcome whatever we are experiencing right away. Right? So in this case, you could reach out to a counselor if you have means, or a dear friend or a family member that you trust and that you're close to, and talk about it. Or sometimes time, time allows you to overcome whatever you are going through. On the top of the pyramid is a mental health disorder. A mental health disorder is clinically diagnosed. I know people tend to throw words here and there that, oh, you're psycho, or you're depressed, or I have an anxiety and all that, and I guess that's why conversations such as these are really important, because when we demystify the language around mental health, it helps us to destigmatize, because there is a lot of stigma around mental health because we don't understand it. So a mental health disorder, like I said, must be clinically diagnosed, to mean a doctor or a mental health profession needs to assess you and give you and give you a professional assessment that you are either clinically depressed or clinically anxious, or you have a bipolar disorder and all that. Now, you need a mental health profession to support you in this journey. If you have a mental health disorder, not anybody can deal with this because you need the right treatment. The right treatment. You need to know how to handle this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
So briefly, that's mental health.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a lot.
Yes, it is a lot.
I want you to break it down.
Yes.
Because for those who just joined us, by the way,
Yes.
I am here with Joy and we're having an interesting conversation. We are talking about understanding mental health. She is a psychotherapist, a mental health and family psychotherapist, and she is helping us understand what mental health is and what mental health is not. So talking about mental health in general.
Yes.
You just mentioned something about seeking help.
Yes.
And there is already the stigma around seeking help.
Yes.
Especially in our Rwandan community, in our Rwandan society. And it's not only here, but it's in most places. Because even based on research, we can see that, stigma is the major cause of all other big problem that comes, with that. So we have stigma, we have lack of understanding. We don't even know, I want to know, how do I know if I'm unwell?
Yes.
How do I know that I have reached a level where I need to seek help?
Yes.
Because those little things, those are normal emotions. Sometimes we get angry, sometimes we get sad, we have anxiety, we are in the midst of something, the stresses, that comes with different things, the circumstances, all that, it happens to us on a daily basis. So I would like to know, to which extent, how do we seek help? How do we go, through life, with this balance? How do we actually be mentally healthy?
Yes, yes. So that's a very good question, Irma. You can actually have a mental health problem or a mental health disorder and have a good mental health.
Wow.
Yes. So you can be clinically depressed, or you can even have a bipolar disorder. But depending on the treatment that you're getting, depending on how you are able to cope with that disorder, you can be able to actually cope with life in a positive way. So not everybody who has a mental health, not everybody who lives with a mental health problem, or not everybody who lives with a mental health disorder has a mental health issue. You can still have a good mental health, even when you are experiencing either a mental health problem or a mental health disorder or a mental health distress. And when I explained the pyramid, it's not a continuum. So it does not mean that when I get a mental health problem, a distress, it's going to turn into a problem and then a disorder. No, it's not a continuum at all.
Okay.
Now, when do I know that I need to seek help? I think that was your question.
Yes.
When you get to a point and whatever you are experiencing mentally is robbing you of the ability to function normally, then you would start to think of seeking help.
Wow.
So, for example, let's take depression. I like to take a very quick example of depression. Not everybody who's feeling sad is depressed, because you know how at the end of the day you can meet a friend and they'll be like, oh, I had a very depressing day, or I really feel depressed, right? Of course, that's a language that we throw here and there, but of course you're not depressed, right? Now, who is a depressed person? In mental health professionals I like to call it a Bible. We have a book, it's called a DSM-5, and in that book there is all the categories, all the mental health disorders with their symptoms.
Okay.
So when you have a patient or a client that comes your way and you assess them and you assess them and identify some symptoms, you know what they're struggling with based on that DSM-5. Now, for depression, for example, somebody who struggles with depression, first of all, they have to have these symptoms for a period of 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So, and the symptoms are loss of interest in the activities that in an activity that you normally like to engage in. For example, I'm a person who likes to be around people. I like to socialize. I just get my energy from being around people.
Yeah.
when I start to lose interest in that for a lengthy period of time, chronically or consistently, then I may start to question what is going on.
Yes.
So that's one.
Because it's something that is not normal.
Yes.
It's different.
It's out
from
of the
what
norm.
you love. You love to do.
Yes. So that's one of the symptoms. Excessive sadness, like you're really, really excessively sad all the time, most of the times for the next 2 to 3 weeks. Having suicidal ideation. Abusing substance because some people abuse substance because they just cannot be able to deal with whatever is going on. Another symptom is change in appetite. Either you're losing your appetite, you cannot eat, or you're overeating. You're emotionally eating. Every time you're worried or you're starting to feel sad, you distract yourself by using food. Disruptions in sleeping patterns. Some people will oversleep, or other people will lose sleep.
You will start experiencing insomnia.
Insomnia, exactly. So those are some of the symptoms of depression. And like I said, you need to be experiencing these symptoms for a period of 2 to 3 weeks.
Wow.
And the doctor or the mental health profession needs to give you an assessment for you to know that you're clinically depressed.
Wow, that's
and with depression, it actually, some people that are majorly clinically depressed, it alters the way the brain functions. Like there's a chemical imbalance.
Wow.
Yes.
In the brain.
In the
okay.
brain, yes.
So you are talking about the signs that's going to show you that you are unwell, you are depressed, and most people, those who are watching us, they might be like, okay, I have those signs. Like, I feel that way. But to be honest, especially in our society here, it's not like very appreciated when you constantly talk about your feelings.
Yes.
Especially men.
Yes.
They are taught how to suppress their feelings. You're not supposed to talk about how you feel.
Yes.
You have to swallow it. You have to be a man. You have to be strong. And if you're a lady and you don't constantly talk about how you feel, people see you as a strong woman.
Yes.
So I really want to know, how do we help people who are not even willing to share what they feel? Those people like Rwandans who are taught not to talk about how they feel, to suppress their feelings. How do we go about it? How do we help them? Because a lot of people are suffering and silently.
Yes.
A lot of people, they feel so sad. Things are not going well, and it's affecting their lives because their emotions are affected, and it's affecting every area of their lives because they are even making bad decisions.
Yes.
Because if you are unwell in your soul, your emotions, it's going to affect other parts. So tell me, how do we help those people who are suffering in silence?
Very good question. It is a culture, and when we talk about culture, it's not, there's no magical pill that we're going to swallow and before we know it, we can now talk about our emotions. I think before we even talk about how do we go about this, let's even understand why are we uncomfortable with emotions. I think you put it very correctly, we learn at a very tender age to suppress our emotions. And that's why I do what I do. I have a very deep-seated passion for families because I really know and I believe and I understand that, and that's what research shows, that our experiences as children will impact the adults that we become. So in our homes, for those that are listening to us, teachers out there, parents, especially parents in our homes, I'm really going to encourage you to create an environment where a child is able to really express how they feel. There is no emotion that is a bad emotion. All emotions are okay emotions, whether it's a negative emotion or a positive emotion, whether it's feeling angry or frustrated or sad or happy, joyous, and all that, it's an emotion. And when we create an environment to allow these little ones to express how they feel, if a little one is coming your way and they're crying, for example, do not punish them because they are crying.
Yeah.
Do not tell them to stop crying.
Do not give them a reason to cry. You know those African parents.
Yes.
Some comedians even like make jokes about it.
Yes.
Like when you come to your parent and
Yes.
you're crying, your mother or your father will beat you even more to give you a reason to cry.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's so sad. It is so
It is
sad.
sad.
So, and I guess the question would be, how do you create that safe environment for a child?
How do we do it?
Yes, for a child to feel like it's okay to feel what I'm feeling. So it's to soothe them. So if a child comes your way and they're feeling a certain way, just soothe them, allow them to cry, and then find ways. If it's a hug, if it's rubbing on their shoulders, whatever it is, soothe them. And then once he or she, the child, is starting to calm themselves down, then ask them questions. How are you feeling? What is going on? What happened? What triggered the sadness or the frustration? What is going on? And then help them to transition from, be empathetic, feel sorry that they're feeling sad, and then help them to transition into problem solving. Right? So if they were fighting with a sibling, of course they're crying and they're feeling sad. That's not a moment for you to teach them how not to fight.
Yes.
First of all, empathize with them, soothe them, and then later teach them that it's not okay. There's other ways of dealing with that situation than fighting, right?
And how about adults?
So I was talking about kids because I really think that that's where it starts.
It starts from
so
there.
That kid who has been allowed to feel whatever they're feeling, they are the same adults that will be able to regulate their emotions.
Wow.
So when you allow this child when you teach them to regulate their emotions, as they're growing up, they will be able to regulate their own emotions, and they will be sensitive enough to even understand other people's emotions. So emotional intelligence. And your question again, please remind me.
Yes. My question is, how do we help adults, how do we help people who are unwilling to share where they're hurting?
Yes.
How do we help them? Because a lot of people, adults, are suffering in silence.
In silence,
Yeah.
yes. So conversations such as this, normalizing negative emotions or normalizing mental health issues, I think is the first step.
Yes.
For people to be reminded that it's okay not to feel okay.
Yes.
And if I have a friend or a family member that is going through tough times emotionally, what I can do is to hold a safe space, is to it's to be comfortable with their discomfort. Because sometimes we grow so uncomfortable because, of course, we don't know. We feel overwhelmed and we don't know how to deal with it, and we start to be uncomfortable, and that affects the person who is going through tough times.
Yeah.
So whoever is listening, if you have a loved one and they're going through a tough time, remember that there is nothing that you can do to change how they feel, because it's out of your control. What you can do is to create that space, support them, ask them, is there anything that I can do to support you?
Yeah.
Because they are the best people to know the kind of support that they need from you.
Yeah.
Whoever is listening and they are going through a tough times, please know that you are not alone. And remember that whatever you're going through, if you access help, you can overcome it.
Yes.
So please try to access help, whether it's your family, whether it's your doctor, medical doctor. You can go tell them, share with them what it is that you're going through, and then maybe they can point you to the right direction.
Yes.
I know there's not so many counselors maybe in Rwanda, and maybe if they're there, they're very expensive. So if you can access a counselor or a mental health profession, or you can find a friend, a family member that you trust, and talk about what is going on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And I think one of the solutions to this, it will be for the leaders or the government to highly be involved.
Absolutely.
Because there is so much needed. You know, as you said, the counselors that we have here, they are expensive, and everyone cannot access them. So, and it's needed. So I believe the government, has to really help, and address this issue. And it's something we should really accept and normalize. We have to stop the stigma.
Yes.
It's not that anyone who is seeking for help, has a mental illness or a mental disorder. No,
absolutely.
they're just not feeling okay. And if you neglect the bad feelings, it will develop and it will become a mental disorder, as you told us. So we have to seek for help earlier.
Absolutely.
That's what I think.
Preventative,
so,
yes.
Joy, before we end our conversation, though it's so good, I don't want it to end.
Yes.
Please tell us more about Family Life and Beyond.
Yes, yes.
And tell us what we should expect from you as
Yes.
Rwandans.
Yes, absolutely. So I currently reside in Canada. I do not live here, which is why I created online platforms, because I really understand that there is a need all over the world, especially even here in my home country. I love Rwanda.
Yes.
And so I told myself I cannot be able to reach everybody personally,
Yes.
but because of technology, I'm able to reach so many people away from me using technology. So I started an online platform. I have my own private practice called Family Life and Beyond. So where I live in Canada, I can see people face to face. But of course, with COVID, it's not even possible anymore. So I do counseling, through my private practice in Canada. But also I have clients from all over the world.
Yes.
Because of technology, I have clients from Rwanda, I have clients from all over Africa and
Yes.
Europe and everywhere.
Yes.
Because of the technology. So I do one-on-one counseling. I do couples counseling. I do family counseling, parent-child counseling. But apart from the counseling, I have online events. Like sometimes I do workshops and seminars online. I also have a YouTube channel where I share, different. I elaborate on different topics, relationship-related topics, mental health-related topics. Again, because I understand not everybody understands how counseling works, and also not everybody can afford counseling.
Yeah.
But I try to, take different topics, share research around the topics, and all that. So my YouTube channel is called Family Life and Beyond with Joy Ruhigisha Gihana. I'm on Instagram as well. I do post every other day, nuggets, mental health nuggets, relationship nuggets on there. And it's called, the handle is family, lower, how do you call it?
Is it a dash?
A dash, but the lower
The
dash.
lower, okay.
So family, that lower thing, Family Life and Beyond. And there is spaces or hyphens in between the words.
Yeah, we're gonna put
Post
it
that,
like
yes.
we're gonna put in the description, below the video,
Yes.
so that everyone who wants to see you or to talk to you
Yes.
can be able to communicate
Access,
with you,
yes.
to access you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So, someone is watching us and they're asking themselves, so what do I do to protect my mental health?
Yes.
What do I do to stay mentally healthy? Is there anything that can help me? Is there anything that I should stop doing? I should start doing? Give us some tips. How do I stay healthy mentally?
Yes, very good question. I'm glad you asked that question, because it can be both preventative or interventional. So in a way of preventing or protecting our mental health, creating self-awareness, really understanding who you are, what triggers you, what annoys you, what excites you, really creating that relationship with yourself, falling in love with who you are.
Wow.
We are not perfect. We all have, strengths and weaknesses. But falling in love with who you are allows you to embrace your weaknesses and work on them, but also tap into your strength and, walk in your purpose. Falling in love with who you are, taking care of yourself. Self-care is key, and that is on a holistically, basically, physically, mentally, psychologically, socially. taking care of yourself is not being selfish.
Yes.
Taking care of yourself means to extend the same kindness that you are willing to extend to other people. You cannot drive on an empty gas tank. You cannot pour from an empty glass. So fill up your glass, whatever works for you. For some people, it is taking time off work. For some people, it is meditating or praying. For other people, it is whatever works for you, engage in that. And, you know, keep your sanity. Another thing that could help you stay in a very good mental health state is paying attention to your thoughts. That is key. Because what we think affects how we feel, and how we feel affects how we behave. So when you pay attention to your thoughts, some thoughts are very automatic that you don't even realize that you're thinking these thoughts. So by paying attention to your thoughts, you can do that through journaling, through, you know, reflecting at the end of the day, sitting back, taking a pen and paper, and actually literally write these things down. If you had a good day, try to understand what made my day such an amazing day. If you had a day that was quite challenging and was quite stressful, what is it that made my day stressful, so that you can improve on that, so that you can find, you know, better ways of coping with whatever it is that is stressing you. Or if it was a good day, how can I do more of that? But you can't do that if you're not aware of it. And you can't be aware of it if you don't pay attention. Try to stay in the here and now. A lot of time we're caught up in either the past or the future. Like we're so worried about, you know, what is about to happen, especially with COVID-19. Or we are so stuck in the future.
In the past.
In the past. So either way, whether it's in the future or in the past, it robs you of the ability to enjoy the present moment, the here and now. Now, I'm not saying that we cannot plan for the future. No, that's not, disclaimer, that's not what I'm saying. All I'm trying to say, while you're planning for the future, while you think about while you reflect what happened in the past, please try to stay in the moment, enjoy the little things in life, here and now, because at the end of the day, that's what really matters. We can't control even what is going to happen in the next minute. So what we have is the here and now.
It's now.
And I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad to be here as well. Wow. It is in a conversation with Joy, and we are talking about mental health. And I'm so sad to end the conversation here, but what I can say is we all have mental health, and it is our responsibility to take care of ourselves, to take care of our well-being, so that we can live full and satisfying lives. She said a lot of things. She mentioned how we should take care of our thoughts, how we should think about what we're thinking about, how we should enjoy the present moment, how we should create a safe environment for us to be happy, to feel good. Actually, those good feelings are what we need. We don't need to feel bad. If there is anything that triggers you, if there is anything that makes you feel bad, first of all, you need to ask yourself a question. Why do I feel bad about this or that? Because sometimes it's a place you need to heal as well. You know, we shouldn't just live avoiding what triggers us, because the moment you discover that I'm actually okay, it is when you will find yourself in a situation where you will get triggered and you're gonna react differently. So let's take care of ourselves. Our mental health matters, our thoughts, how we feel, our emotions, and let's seek help. Like, we need to stop. We need to break the stigma. There is nothing to be ashamed of. If there is a bad feeling, if there is something that's not going well in your life, just reach out. And I believe it's growing. The mental health awareness is growing, and we are so glad to be part of this. It is the Purpose Rwanda show with Irma Ihumure, and I want to thank you so much, Joy, for joining us. We are happy you just shared everything you shared with us. And I hope to see you next time.
Yes, thank you so much, Irma, for having me. Thank you for this great cause, Purpose Rwanda. I know there's millions out there that badly need to hear this kind of conversations. And you're creating, you're being the difference that you want to see happen. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Joy, and I'll see you next time. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you on Saturday. next week, Saturday, 7 p.m. on KC2, the Purpose Rwanda show. This is the place. This is the show like you don't have to miss. Goodbye. See you next time.